The lunar research station's warning klaxons pierced the artificial night cycle, yanking Dr. Sarah Chen from her research notes. Red emergency lights bathed her laboratory in an otherworldly glow as she instinctively reached for her emergency kit. After 5 years studying extreme biological adaptations on humanity's first permanent lunar base, she learned that every alert could mean the difference between life and death. Warning: hull breach detected in Sector 7. All personnel implement emergency protocols immediately. The AI's calm voice contrasted sharply with the chaos erupting around her. Through the reinforced windows, Sarah watched as debris from what appeared to be a meteor shower peppered the lunar surface, each impact sending up plumes of moon dust that danced in the starlight. But something wasn't right about this shower. The trajectory patterns were too precise, too ordered. Her suspicions were confirmed when one of the larger objects changed direction mid-flight, impossible for any natural phenomenon. Dr. Chen, medical emergency in airlock 4B, the AI announced. No Earth personnel signatures detected. Quarantine protocols advised. Sarah's heart raced as she sealed her helmet and activated her suit's life support systems. No Earth personnel signatures could only mean one thing. After decades of searching, humanity's first contact was about to happen in the worst possible way. The airlock was a mere 100 meters from her lab, but the journey felt eternal. Emergency bulkheads had sealed off most of the station, forcing her to navigate through maintenance corridors she'd only ever seen in training simulations. When she finally reached airlock 4B, the sight before her stopped her cold. A figure lay crumpled against the inner door, nearly 2 meters tall and clad in what appeared to be living armor that shifted colors like oil on water. What caught Sarah's attention wasn't the alien's impressive height or otherworldly technology, but the silvery blood pooling beneath them. "Stay back, human," the alien commanded in perfect English, though the voice carried harmonics that made Sarah's teeth vibrate. "Your interference is neither required nor welcome." "I'm Dr. Sarah Chen, xenobiologist and medical officer," she replied, taking a careful step forward. "You're bleeding out. Let me help." The alien warrior raised a weapon that seemed to be grown rather than manufactured, its surface rippling with barely contained energy. "I am Commander Kexera of the Valkyrian Guard, and I would rather die than be handled by a primitive." Before Sarah could respond, the station shook with another impact, this one far more violent than the meteor shower. Through the airlock's external window, she caught glimpse of something massive moving against the star field, a ship that seemed to absorb light rather than reflect it. "They're here," Kexera growled, attempting to stand but failing as more silver blood seeped from beneath the living armor. "The Void Dominion cannot be allowed to acquire what I carry. Better to destroy this facility and everyone in it." Sarah's mind raced. The station housed over 300 researchers and support staff, including her younger sister Emily. "There are innocent lives here. There has to be another way." "Innocence is irrelevant in war, human. Your species' existence hangs by a thread, and you don't even know it." Kexera's voice carried both disdain and something else. Resignation, perhaps. Another explosion rocked the station, closer this time. The emergency lights flickered, and Sarah heard the distinctive hiss of atmosphere escaping somewhere nearby. She had seconds to make a decision that would change not only her life, but potentially the fate of humanity. "You have two choices," she said, forcing steel into her voice. "Let me help you, and together we might find a way to save everyone. Or bleed out here alone, and guarantee whatever you're protecting falls into enemy hands when they breach this station, which, based on that hull breach alarm, will be in about 15 minutes. Kexera's helmet retracted like liquid metal, revealing features that were almost humanoid but not quite, silver skin that seemed to shimmer with internal light, eyes with horizontal pupils that glowed like dying stars, and expressions that seemed to move across their face like waves. "Your logic." Kexera paused, mandibles clicking in what Sarah would later learn was amusement, "is unfortunately sound. But know this, if you attempt to slow me down or betray me, I will not hesitate to eliminate you and every other human on this station." "Noted," Sarah replied dryly, already pulling medical supplies from her kit. "Now shut up and let me save your life before we both die in the vacuum of space." As she worked to stabilize the alien warrior's wounds, Sarah couldn't shake the feeling that this reluctant partnership between a human doctor and an alien commander would ripple across the galaxy in ways neither of them could imagine. Above them, the Void Dominion ship moved into position, its shadow eclipsing the Earth that hung like a blue jewel in the black sky. The real battle was about to begin. The emergency lighting cast strange shadows across Kexera's silver skin as Sarah worked to seal the worst of the wounds. The alien commander's blood seemed to have properties similar to liquid metal, responding to the electrical impulses from their armor systems. Every few seconds, the station trembled under another assault from the Void Dominion ship. "Your methods are primitive," Kexera observed, watching Sarah adapt human medical technology to alien biology. "But your adaptability is unexpected." "Thanks, I think," Sarah muttered, sealing another wound with a combination of synthetic platelets and controlled electrical currents. "Now want to tell me what was worth getting shot down over? And why there's a hostile alien warship trying to blow up my home?" Before Kexera could respond, the station's AI cut in. "Multiple hull breaches detected. Unknown entities have breached sectors 3, 5, and 8. Security protocols have failed. Emergency evacuation recommended." Sarah's blood ran cold. "Emily," she whispered. Her sister's quarters were in Sector 5. "Your attachment to others is a weakness," Kexera stated, rising to their feet with fluid grace despite the injuries. "We must move. The data core I carry contains information that could shift the balance of power in this sector of space. The Void Dominion cannot be allowed to obtain it." "I'm not leaving without my sister," Sarah snapped, gathering additional medical supplies. "You can either help me get to her, or you can try to navigate this station's security systems alone while bleeding out. Your choice." Kexera's expression shifted like quicksilver, mandibles clicking in what might have been frustration or respect. "Your species' stubbornness is remarkable." "Very well. But we move fast, and if she slows us down—" "Save the threats," Sarah interrupted, checking her tablet's station schematics. "We can reach Sector 5 through the maintenance tunnels. I'm sending you the layout now." The alien commander's armor interfaced with the data stream, absorbing it directly. "These passages are restrictive. The Void Dominion's hunter-seekers will have difficulty maneuvering in them as well. Acceptable strategy, Doctor." They moved through the station's arteries, Sarah leading the way through shortcuts she'd learned during countless emergency drills. The sounds of combat echoed through the walls: energy weapons, explosions, and something else. Something that sounded like metal being torn apart by massive forces. "What exactly are we up against?" Sarah asked as they paused at an intersection, checking for movement. "The Void Dominion represents everything your species should fear about the galaxy," Kexera replied, their weapon humming with barely contained energy. "They consume civilizations, strip mining planets, and enslaving populations for their biomechanical experiments. They believe evolution through conquest is the only path forward." A scream echoed through the tunnels. Human, terrified, and close. Sarah started forward, but Kexera grabbed her arm with surprising gentleness. "The hunter-seekers can mimic any sound they've recorded," they warned. "It's a favorite tactic." As if on cue, the scream cut off in a way that no human throat could manage, replaced by a mechanical whirring that sent chills down Sarah's spine. Through the grating ahead, she caught glimpses of something moving. All chrome and sharp edges, like a praying mantis designed by a nightmare. "How do we fight them?" she whispered. "We don't," Kexera replied. "Their neural networks adapt to any weapon or tactic used against them. Each encounter makes them stronger. We evade, we survive, we complete the mission." The hunter-seeker's movements became more focused, its sensors obviously detecting something. Sarah held her breath, watching as articulated limbs pressed against the grating, testing for weaknesses. Suddenly, her tablet lit up with an incoming message. Emily was alive, barricaded in the hydroponics lab with other survivors. But the message had triggered a response in the hunter-seeker. Its head snapped toward their position, optical sensors glowing with malevolent intelligence. "Well, Doctor," Kexera said, their weapon powering up with a high-pitched whine. "It seems your human technology has made tactical evasion impossible. Perhaps it's time to test your species' capacity for direct confrontation." The hunter-seeker burst through the grating in a shower of sparks and twisted metal, its form unfolding like a deadly flower. Sarah had a split second to appreciate the horrible beauty of its design before Kexera shoved her aside, bringing their weapon to bear. "If we survive this," the alien commander announced, "we should discuss improving your species' communication security protocols." The maintenance tunnel erupted in chaos as human ingenuity and alien technology faced off against the Void Dominion's perfect killing machine. And somewhere in the station above, Emily and the other survivors could only wait and hope that this unlikely alliance would prove strong enough to save them all. The hunter-seeker's remains smoldered in the maintenance tunnel, its chrome surface scarred by Kexera's weapon, and, surprisingly, the improvised electrical discharge from Sarah's repurposed medical equipment. The alien commander studied the wreckage with an expression that might have been impressed. "Your solution was unorthodox," they admitted, mandibles shifting in that now familiar pattern of reluctant respect. "Using the defibrillator's charge to overload its neural pathways while I engaged its combat protocols. Perhaps humans aren't entirely without potential." "Save the compliments," Sarah replied, already moving toward the hydroponics lab. "That thing sent out a signal before we destroyed it. More will come." They emerged from the maintenance tunnel into hydroponics, where the usual peaceful green glow of the growing lights had been replaced by emergency red. Emily and a dozen other survivors had barricaded themselves behind overturned growth tables and sealed pressure doors. "Sarah." Emily rushed forward, then stopped short at the sight of Kexera. The alien commander towered over them both, their living armor still rippling with combat protocols. "Your sibling shares your disregard for self-preservation," Kexera observed dryly. Before anyone could respond, the station's AI made an announcement that chilled Sarah to her core. "Warning. Unknown cybernetic signature detected in primary computer core. Station systems compromised. Hostile override in progress." "They're trying to download the station's research data," one of the survivors, Dr. Marcus Way from Quantum Computing, explained. "But that's not the worst part. I detected unauthorized transmissions to Earth before communications went dark. Someone was expecting this attack." Kexera's armor shifted colors, displaying patterns that Sarah interpreted as alarm. "The Void Dominion never acts without inside support. Your species has been infiltrated more deeply than we realized." A distant explosion rocked the station, followed by the distinctive sound of atmosphere venting. The AI's voice became distorted, breaking up with static. "Emergency protocols initiated. Station-wide quarantine in effect. All personnel proceed to emergency evacuation pods." "The pods are death traps," Kexera stated flatly. "The Dominion will pick them off one by one." Sarah's mind raced, putting together pieces of a puzzle she hadn't even known existed until today. "The Quantum Research Lab," she said suddenly. "Marcus, you were working on teleportation principles using quantum entanglement." "It's theoretical," Marcus protested. "We only managed to transport individual atoms and the power requirements." "The station's antimatter containment system," Emily interrupted, catching on to her sister's train of thought. "If we reroute the power and use the emergency protocols to mask the signature." "Your species continues to surprise," Kexera said, their armor interfacing with a nearby terminal. "The Dominion's ships use similar principles for short-range tactical deployment. With my knowledge of their systems and your existing research." They worked quickly, human and alien technology merging in ways neither species had anticipated. Through the lab's windows, they could see more hunter-seekers emerging from the breach points, their chrome forms reflecting the Earth's light as they searched for prey. "I've accessed the data core thereafter," Marcus announced, his fingers flying over multiple keyboards. "It's not just research data they want. There are files here about something called Project Sentinel, classified military operations, communications with non-human entities dating back decades. Your governments have known about the greater galaxy for longer than they've admitted," Kexera confirmed. "Some believe preparing in secret was better than risking panic. Others saw opportunity for personal gain. The Void Dominion exploited these divisions." Sarah watched as Emily and Marcus made the final calculations for their desperate plan. "How deep does this conspiracy go?" "Deep enough that your planet's fate may depend on what we do next," Kexera replied. "The data I carry doesn't just expose the Dominion's plans. It reveals every compromised official, every hidden installation, every dark deal made in humanity's name without humanity's knowledge." The station shuddered again, more violently this time. Through the windows, Sarah saw the Void Dominion ship moving into a new attack position. Its surface seemed to absorb light, creating a void in space itself. "Quantum transport matrix aligned," Emily announced. "But we can only manage one jump, and we have no way to predict exactly where we'll emerge." "Better than certain death here," Sarah said, helping Marcus transfer the crucial data to portable drives. "Everyone grab onto something. This is going to get interesting." "Your species," Kexera observed as the quantum field began to build around them, "has an irritating tendency to understate danger." The lab filled with impossible light as human determination and alien technology created a desperate escape route. Above them, the Void Dominion's ship opened fire, its weapons designed to tear apart the very fabric of space-time. The race between their improvised teleportation and the station's destruction would be measured in microseconds. In that moment, as reality itself began to bend around them, Sarah realized that her life's work studying extreme adaptations had prepared her for this in ways she'd never imagined. Humanity's greatest strength wasn't their technology or their knowledge. It was their ability to face the impossible and refuse to accept defeat. The quantum field reached critical mass just as the station's hull began to breach. The last thing Sarah saw before everything went white was Kexera's expression, no longer disdainful, but filled with something that might have been hope. The quantum teleportation had scattered them across the Atacama Desert, but Sarah's emergency beacon had helped reunite their group within hours. Now, as the sun set behind the ends, they watched the secret facility below from their vantage point in the rocky outcrops. The complex masqueraded as a mining operation, its true purpose hidden beneath layers of corporate facades and government clearances. 12 guard rotations, automated defense systems, and at least 3 hunter-seekers patrolling the perimeter, Kexera observed, their armor shifting to match the desert rocks. "Your species excels at hiding things in plain sight. That's what happens when you let paranoid bureaucrats make first-contact decisions," Marcus muttered, working to decrypt the facility's communications on his salvaged tablet. Emily had rigged a solar array to power their equipment, turning their hidden observation post into a makeshift command center. Sarah studied the medical readings from her modified scanner. The quantum jump had taken a toll on all of them, but Kexera's injuries were finally showing real improvement. The alien commander moved with their usual fluid grace, no longer favoring their left side. "The data core confirms this facility is a primary hub for Project Sentinel," Kexera said. "Your leaders have been stockpiling salvaged Dominion technology, believing they could reverse engineer it for planetary defense. They don't understand that every piece of that technology is alive and loyal to its masters." "Got it," Emily exclaimed softly, her fingers dancing across her screen. "I've isolated their power grid. There's a massive energy signature 3 levels below ground. Has to be their main research lab." "The real problem isn't getting in," Sarah said, reviewing the facility's layout. "It's getting out once they know we're there. The Void Dominion will have protocols in place." Kexera's expression shifted through patterns Sarah was learning to read: consideration, concern, and something deeper. You could still walk away, the commander said quietly. Return to your lives. Pretend none of this happened. The Valkyrian Guard's war need not be humanity's. Pretty sure that choice went away when they attacked our station, Sarah replied. Besides, your injuries still need monitoring. Can't have you bleeding out before we save both our species. The alien commander made that clicking sound that might have been laughter. Your deflection through humor remains inefficient, Doctor, but not entirely unappreciated. Their infiltration began at midnight. Emily's virus shut down the perimeter sensors just long enough for them to slip through, while Marcus's decryption algorithms kept their signatures masked from the hunter-seekers. Sarah found herself moving in perfect sync with Kexera, their different fighting styles complementing each other after their shared battles. The facility's interior was a sterile maze of white corridors and secure doors, but the signs of Void Dominion influence were everywhere. Subtle patterns in the architecture, technologies that seemed to blur the line between organic and mechanical. The deeper they went, the more Sarah's skin crawled. This is wrong, Marcus whispered as they accessed another security station. These research logs, they're not just studying the technology. They're trying to merge it with human subjects. Voluntary at first, but then. The Dominion corrupts everything it touches, Kexera said grimly. It offers power, then takes free will in exchange. Your leaders believed they were building humanity's shield. Instead, they were forging their own chains. They found the main lab 3 levels down, exactly where Emily's scans had indicated. The massive chamber was filled with salvaged alien technology, each piece giving off a sickly bioluminescence. But it was the central containment unit that drew their attention. A massive cylinder filled with swirling dark energy. By all the stars, Kexera breathed, their armor rippling with alarm patterns. They've built a void gate, a direct portal to the Dominion's home dimension. Welcome, Commander Kexera. A familiar voice called from the shadows. And Dr. Chen, your survival was inconvenient, but not unexpected. Director Harrison Walsh stepped into the light, but he wasn't the man Sarah remembered from station briefings. His skin had a metallic sheen, and his eyes glowed with the same malevolent intelligence as the hunter-seekers. You're too late, Walsh said, his voice carrying those same harmonics that made Sarah's teeth vibrate. The integration is already beginning. Humanity will transcend its limitations, whether they want to or not. Integration. Emily whispered, horror dawning on her face as she read the data streaming across her tablet. The Void Gate, it's not just a portal. It's changing the Earth's fundamental forces. They're trying to merge our entire reality with theirs. Walsh smiled, and his teeth were chrome. Evolution through conquest, Dr. Chen. The Void Dominion's gift to humanity. Though perhaps we should demonstrate on a smaller scale first. He gestured, and hunter-seekers emerged from every shadow, their weapons trained on the group. Sarah felt Kexera tense beside her, ready for battle, but they were hopelessly outnumbered. Now then, Walsh said, his form beginning to shift and flow like liquid metal. Who would like to be the first to experience transcendence? Sarah met Kexera's eyes, seeing in them the same determination she felt. They hadn't come this far to watch humanity fall to the Void Dominion's false promises. The real question was, could their unlikely partnership find a way to save not just themselves, but an entire planet that didn't even know it needed saving? The Void Gate pulsed behind Walsh, its dark energy reaching out like hungry tentacles. The final battle for humanity's soul was about to begin. The Void Gate's dark energy crackled through the underground facility, making reality itself seem unstable. Sarah could feel it pulling at her atoms, trying to rewrite the fundamental forces that held her together. Beside her, Kexera's living armor rippled with protective patterns, fighting against the corruption. Your species' ambition was always your weakness, Walsh said, his form continuing to shift between human and something else. So desperate to survive in a hostile universe that you never question the price of power. You're wrong, Sarah replied, her mind racing through everything she'd learned about both human and alien biology in the past days. Our ambition isn't our weakness, it's our strength. Because we don't just adapt to survive, we adapt to thrive. She caught Emily's eye, a lifetime of sisterly communication passing between them in an instant. Emily's fingers flew across her tablet, while Marcus positioned himself closer to the facility's main control terminal. Your resistance is pointless, Walsh continued, seemingly amused by their defiance. The Void Gate will transform your entire planet, elevating humanity beyond its primitive limitations. Those who survive will become part of something greater. We've seen what your elevation really means, Kexera growled, their weapon humming with barely contained energy. The Void Dominion doesn't create transcendence, it creates slaves. That's why my people have fought you for centuries. Walsh's chrome smile widened. And how has that worked out for the mighty Valkyrian Guard, Commander? Your numbers dwindle while ours grow. Every civilization we absorb makes us stronger. Even now, your own people debate surrender. Something flickered across Kexera's expression. Pain, perhaps, or grief. But when they spoke, their voice was steel. Then humanity will prove what my people have forgotten. That some principles are worth fighting for, even against impossible odds. The hunter-seekers moved closer, their weapons charged. But Sarah had noticed something about their movements, a subtle synchronization, as if they were all connected to a central control point. Her eyes darted to the Void Gate's control systems, and suddenly she understood. Emily, she called out, her voice steady despite her racing heart. Remember that time we overloaded the Quantum Lab's containment field to kill that virus in the system? The Void Gate cannot be stopped, Walsh interrupted, his patience visibly wearing thin. Its connection to the Dominion's dimension is already too strong. Any attempt to shut it down would trigger a catastrophic reaction. Who said anything about shutting it down? Sarah asked, allowing herself a small smile. We're going to turn it up. Everything happened at once. Emily's virus took control of the facility's power grid, directing every ounce of energy into the Void Gate. Marcus's decryption algorithms corrupted the hunter-seekers' neural networks, causing them to turn on each other in confusion. And Kexera, understanding Sarah's plan perfectly, fired their weapon directly into the gate's containment field. The Void Gate's dark energy exploded outward, but instead of transforming the matter it touched, it began to feed back on itself. The hunter-seekers collapsed, their connection to the Dominion dimension overloaded by the surge. Walsh screamed as his transformed body began to break down, the very power he'd embraced now tearing him apart. What have you done? He demanded, his chrome features melting like wax. Basic physics, Sarah explained, watching as the Void Gate began to implode. Everything has a breaking point, even dimensional barriers. Push them too far, too fast. And the system burns itself out. Emily finished, her tablet showing the cascade of failures spreading through the facility. We need to move, Kexera ordered, their armor adapting to shield against the increasing radiation. The gate's collapse will trigger a quantum chain reaction. This entire facility will be erased from reality. They ran through disintegrating corridors, past failing equipment and collapsed hunter-seekers. Behind them, the laws of physics were breaking down as the Void Gate's destruction created a localized apocalypse. Sarah could feel reality trying to reassert itself, pushing back against the Void Dominion's attempted invasion of their dimension. They emerged into the desert night just as the facility imploded, taking with it every trace of the Dominion's corruption. The ground shook, but the effect was contained. Emily's calculations had been perfect, limiting the damage to the underground complex. Your solution was elegant, Kexera admitted as they watched the dust settle, using the Dominion's own power against them, while preserving your dimension's integrity. My people have fought for centuries without considering such an approach. Sometimes the best way to win a fight is to change the rules, Sarah replied. Speaking of which, what happens now? The Void Dominion is still out there, and there could be other facilities like this one. Kexera's armor shifted through thoughtful patterns before settling into a configuration Sarah had never seen before, one that seemed to incorporate elements of human design into its alien geometry. Perhaps, the commander said carefully, it's time for the Valkyrian Guard to consider a more permanent alliance with humanity. Your species has proven itself worthy of trust, and more importantly, capable of finding solutions we had never imagined. Does this mean you'll finally let me finish treating those injuries properly? Sarah asked with a grin. Kexera made that clicking sound of amusement. Doctor, I believe this is the beginning of a most interesting partnership. As the sun rose over the Andes, casting the first light on a world that had nearly been lost, Sarah reflected on how far they'd come from that first hostile meeting in the lunar station. Humanity had faced its trial by fire and emerged stronger, not by becoming something else, but by being the best version of themselves. The stars above held new threats, new challenges, and new possibilities. But with the combined strength of human ingenuity and Valkyrian wisdom, Sarah knew they would face them together. The galaxy would never be the same, and that was exactly what both their species needed.